Hi, welcome back to Feiyun Stories. Imagine a world with no predators, no hunger, no sickness. A place where every need is met. Food dispensers full, water flowing, climate perfect. It was supposed to be heaven.
That sounds like the ultimate vacation package. No bills, no dangers, no stress. Where do I sign up?
Yet, within just a few years, this paradise turned into hell. Not some of them, not most of them. Every single resident died out.
Wait, what? With unlimited resources? That doesn't add up. How do you lose when the game is set to easy mode?
This wasn't only a tragedy for rodents. It became one of the most disturbing experiments in behavioral science. And the more you look into it, the more it feels like a prophecy. A mirror held up to humanity. They called it Universe 25.
A utopia that became a death trap. You're not saying we're on the same path, are you?
The architect behind Universe 25 was John Calhoun, an American scientist obsessed with a question that haunted the 20th century. What happens when societies outgrow themselves?
All right. Outgrow? Like my watch list on Netflix?
Bigger. Think nations swelling beyond their limits. By the 1950s, global population was booming. New York, Tokyo, London, crowded towers, streets overflowing, families crammed into apartments. People warned of population bombs and looming shortages. Calhoun looked at it differently. He asked, even if resources never run out, will our behavior survive density? To test this, he didn't start with people. He built utopias for mice. Over 24, each one a little different. Most collapsed from disease or poor design. But in 1968, he launched Universe 25, his most ambitious build. No excuses, no predators, no hunger. A sealed stage to watch behavior unfold.
So basically, SimCity, but the Sims are mice?
Exactly. Imagine a 9-foot square metal box, 4 tiers high, like a miniature skyscraper block. Dozens of feeding stations, stainless steel tubes dripping water. Climate locked at a perfect 20 degrees Celsius. Every condition optimized. On paper, it was a perfect world.
That actually sounds better than some real cities.
Calhoun introduced 8 mice, a young colony, healthy and curious. Within weeks, litters arrived. Within months, the population shot into the hundreds. At its peak, more than 2,200 mice filled the structure. The place buzzed with life. For a brief moment, it looked like paradise had been achieved.
And Calhoun must have thought, I've proven it. Utopia works.
For a moment, yes. But what came next? No one expected. On the surface, Universe 25 was thriving. Birth after birth filled the corridors, and the air hummed with squeaks and movement. Yet the first cracks didn't come from empty stomachs. They came from something far less obvious. The shrinking sense of personal space.
You mean they still had room left, but it felt crowded?
Exactly. Like rush hour on a subway, the mice lived that sensation. Nests overlapped, corridors clogged. Access to feeders and water points became battle zones. Picture one strong male stationed at a drinking tube. Each time another mouse approached, he lunged, biting, scratching, driving rivals back until blood dotted the floor. For him, dominance was survival. For the weaker males, every attempt ended in retreat.
So the losers just stopped trying?
They became what Calhoun called the excluded. Males without territory, without mates, without hope of climbing the hierarchy. They drifted to corners, huddled together, living on scraps. Bodies present, but erased from the social order.
That's eerily human. Cities full of people, yet so many feel invisible.
And here lies the paradox. No one starved. But status, belonging, and recognition became scarce. For some, that scarcity bred aggression. For others, it bred withdrawal. Either way, the social map fractured.
So the real crisis was never food. It was belonging. Where do I fit?
Exactly. And once that question spread unanswered, the cage turned from paradise into a pressure cooker.
If you lived in a crowded paradise, would you rather fight to dominate or fade quietly into the background?
Universe 25 had proven its first lesson. Prosperity can hide decay. And once belonging erodes, paradise has already begun to end. As the population crossed 1,000, the balance snapped. Universe 25 no longer felt like a city. It felt like a riot, frozen in slow motion. The rules that once kept order broke down, one by one.
What changed exactly? The same space, the same food, why total collapse?
Because hierarchy stopped working. In natural colonies, one strong male claims a zone, fends off rivals, and passes on genes. But in Universe 25, there were too many males and not enough territory. Rivalries spiraled out of control. Fights became constant, not strategic. Dominance was no longer about balance. It was about chaos. Mothers carrying pups were attacked mid-corridor. Weaker males huddled together, absorbing blows without resistance. Even nests, once sacred spaces, were invaded and torn apart. Violence was no longer purposeful. It was random.
So aggression stopped being a tool and just became noise?
Exactly. They grew up without the skills their society depended on. Culture is not written in DNA. It's rehearsed, taught, reinforced. Once that rehearsal stops, meaning collapses. The excluded, they had lost not just battles, but the very belief that battles could be won.
Okay, wow. That sounds like burnout on a civilizational scale. People alive, but psychologically checked out.
Exactly. Some kept fighting, some retreated, and some withdrew completely.
A new kind of mouse?
Yes. A class unlike the fighters or the excluded, marking the next stage of collapse. We'll meet them soon. In the middle of violence and chaos, a strange new class emerged. They didn't fight for dominance. They didn't defend nests. They didn't even seek mates. Instead, they withdrew into themselves. Calhoun gave them a name, the Beautiful Ones.
Beautiful? That doesn't sound like a collapse.
On the outside, they were flawless. They groomed obsessively, stayed unscarred, immaculate, seemingly perfect.
So visually, they were the healthiest mice in the cage.
Exactly. Anyone glancing inside would think, these must be the winners. But inside, they were hollow. They showed no drive to compete, no instinct to protect, no desire to nurture. They lived only to eat, sleep, and groom.
Yeah, that sounds like influencers on Instagram. Flawless images, zero substance.
You're not far off. The Beautiful Ones represent a survival strategy that abandons everything society depends on. They avoided pain, but also avoided purpose. They survived longer, yes, but they left no offspring. They contributed nothing. They were, biologically and culturally, dead ends.
Survival without legacy. That's tragic.
And here's the twist. The rise of the Beautiful Ones was not just a symptom. It was a turning point. Calhoun warned that once this class dominates, collapse is irreversible. Because when the image of perfection replaces the reality of function, society has already signed its death warrant.
That's chilling. Culture dies before the species does.
Exactly. And here's where the mirror to humanity grows sharper. Look around. Rising numbers of young people opting out of marriage and parenthood. Hours spent curating digital selves, perfect photos, perfect feeds. A growing disconnect between looking good and living meaningfully.
You're basically saying we're becoming the beautiful ones.
Not everyone, but enough that the warning echoes. If too many choose polish over purpose, society doesn't plateau. It nosedives. From paradise, straight to extinction.
What do you think? Is it safer to live flawless but meaningless, or messy but full of legacy?
Universe 25 had revealed its first great twist. Sometimes the most perfect-looking creatures are the ones who seal the end. If the breakdown of males was violent, the breakdown of females was haunting. In nature, mothers are the guardians of continuity. They teach survival. They pass on culture. But in Universe 25, motherhood itself began to collapse.
Collapse? But maternal instinct is supposed to be hardwired. How does that just vanish?
It didn't vanish overnight. It was chipped away by stress. Nests were never quiet. Corridors were full of strangers. Fights broke out within earshot of pups. Mothers carried their litters back and forth, desperate for safety, but found none. Over time, many stopped trying. Calhoun recorded pups abandoned or even attacked by their own mothers. The mortality rate for newborns climbed to nearly 90% in later phases of the experiment.
That's brutal. But what about the ones that survived?
Survival was almost worse. The few pups that grew up did so without proper guidance. No one taught them how to mate, how to build nests, how to protect. They became adults without a script, clueless, passive, unable to function. In Calhoun's notes, he called them a generation lost.
Like breaking the chain of tomorrow. If one generation forgets, the next can't rebuild.
Exactly. And this is where Universe 25 stops being about mice and starts becoming an allegory for us. Because when parenting collapses, not from famine, but from loss of meaning, society begins to erase itself.
That sounds a lot like our world's fertility crisis.
Look around. In Japan, South Korea, Italy, birth rates fall to historic lows. In the United States, surveys show young adults saying children feel impossible. Too expensive, too stressful, too lonely. It isn't about lack of food. It's about lack of confidence in the future.
Okay, so today's baby bust is like the mouse mothers refusing to raise pups.
Not a one-to-one match, but the echo is unmistakable. Both reveal the same truth. When people feel their role has no future, nurturing the next generation loses its value. Why bring life into a system that feels broken? And with mothers giving up, the idea of tomorrow itself began to vanish.
That's terrifying.
John Calhoun gave a name to what he was witnessing inside Universe 25. He called it the behavioral sink. To him, this wasn't just overcrowding. It was something deeper. The collapse of normal behavior under the weight of too much proximity, too much contact, too much abundance.
Behavioral sink, like everything being flushed down a drain?
Exactly. Think of a sinkhole swallowing the ground beneath your feet. At first, society looks stable, but underneath, the foundation is eroding. But in Universe 25, those same instincts twisted. Behaviors once purposeful, fighting, mating, parenting, turned hollow.
Couldn't the mice just adapt? Find new roles?
That's the tragedy. Instead of adapting, they retreated. The social script collapsed faster than biology could rewrite it. Calhoun described this as psychological extinction, the mind giving up long before the body does.
Psychological extinction. That sounds worse than physical extinction.
And here's the twist.
So you're basically saying our skyscrapers are just giant mouse cages.
In some ways, yes. Because when people feel redundant, when they see no future in their role, they sink. Some lash out, some withdraw. Some polish their image but abandon connection. The patterns rhyme.
Is the real danger today scarcity or abundance without purpose?
When the body survives but the spirit gives up, extinction is already on its way. On the surface, Universe 25 was a rodent story. But the more you look, the harder it is not to see a mirror. Calhoun didn't just study mice. He was warning about us.
But hold on. Humans aren't mice. We've got culture, technology, laws. Doesn't that make us immune?
Immune? Or just more complicated? And in the West, there's the so-called loneliness epidemic. Surveys show people reporting fewer and fewer close friends. Some say none at all. Online communities expand, but face-to-face bonds shrink. Material comfort grows, but psychological comfort erodes.
Like the NEETs in Japan, or hikikomori, who never leave their rooms.
Exactly.
Huh, so what? You're saying our skyscrapers are just bigger cages with Wi-Fi?
In some ways, yes. But here's where it gets tricky. Humans add a new variable, the image economy. Just like the beautiful ones polish their fur.
That's the beautiful ones, in 4K.
But the choice isn't about economics alone. Many quietly say, why bring a child into a world that feels broken?
So Calhoun wasn't just documenting collapse. He was drawing a line straight to us.
Exactly. He believed density and purposelessness could undo human society the same way it destroyed Universe 25. The only difference is that humans build taller cages, skyscrapers, digital spaces, artificial paradises. But the risk is the same. Once roles collapse, once tomorrow feels empty, abundance turns toxic. So what about us? Allegory of the past, or prophecy of our own future?
Either way, it's way too close for comfort.
Maybe the real killer wasn't density at all. It was stagnation. Half a century has passed since Universe 25 ended. The mice are gone, but the echoes remain. Today, the resemblance isn't in food or shelter. It's in something deeper. Families shrink. Neighborhood bonds weaken. Institutions once anchoring community, churches, schools, civic groups, fade into the background.
So, society can be rich in goods, but poor in trust.
Exactly. That is the essence of a modern Universe 25. Abundance without belonging. Prosperity without connection. Universe 25 ended in silence. No pups, no families, no future. But what if there were another stage? What if there were Universe 26? Not with mice, but with us.
That's a creepy thought. So, what would our cage look like?
Maybe it's already here. Only our walls aren't steel, they're digital. Our tubes drip not water, but endless streams of content. Our feeders dispense not grain, but instant food, instant shopping, instant dopamine. The cage of the future doesn't need bars. It only needs comfort. A paradise of frictionless living can become a paradise of stagnation. And that's the twist Calhoun never saw coming.
But wait, doesn't technology also open doors? Like, AI could free us from work. Space travel could give us new frontiers. That's not a cage, right?
It could be either. That's the paradox. Universe 25 showed what happens when paradise is static, unchanging, with no outlet. Humanity's chance lies in building new outlets, new challenges, new struggles, new places to grow. AI could become a tool for deeper connection or just another distraction. Virtual worlds could be training grounds for creativity or cages where we polish avatars and abandon reality. A society that forgets how to struggle forgets how to live. Because paradise is never permanent. Without new mountains to climb, even heaven can rot. If Universe 25 was a warning, then Universe 26, our world, will be the test. It makes me wonder, are we already on that path? Or can we rewrite the script? If abundance is the new battlefield, what will you fight for? Will you be a builder, a nurturer, a creator, or polish yourself into irrelevance?
What about you? In a world of endless abundance, do you feel more connected or more alone? Drop your thoughts below. We want to know.
And maybe next time we'll flip the script. What happens when paradise is built with struggle instead of against it? Ever heard of Rat Park? Or Dunbar's number? That's another story waiting to be told.
Same mirror, new angle. See you in the next world.